Can you transfer assets out of an irrevocable trust? Well, an irrevocable trust is supposed to be a trust that you can't change. You can't take assets out of. So as a general rule, no, you can't take assets out of an irrevocable trust, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. What is meant by take assets out of an irrevocable trust? Let's say you are the grantor, you created an irrevocable trust, and it's for your benefit, and you want to distribute assets out to yourself because you're a beneficiary of the trust. Then you probably can take that asset out because you're the beneficiary of the trust. But let's say that the asset is in this trust and you aren't the beneficiary. Somebody else, let's say you created this irrevocable trust with your assets for the benefit of another person, and you change your mind and you want, oh, I want that asset back. Well, you know what? With an irrevocable trust, you really can't change your mind and say, I want to do a do-over. I don't want that trust anymore, or I want the assets back. You're likely going to have a problem with that. On the other hand, what if you're saying, I just want to exchange, I want to substitute out this property that I put in, and I want to put something else in for equal value? Well, depending on how you drafted that trust or how your attorney did it, you may have a power of substitution, not to take it out and withdraw the asset, but to switch what the asset is. That is a possibility, and that might be a provision of your irrevocable trust. Since we're talking about irrevocable trusts, I am going to go out on a limb and say you didn't draft this yourself, because an irrevocable trust is not something that anyone who is a non-lawyer, a non-trust attorney should ever draft, because of the consequences of it being irrevocable, meaning you're not supposed to be able to change it. So don't get confused between irrevocable and revocable. A revocable trust is something that you can make all sorts of changes to. An irrevocable trust is something that you're really not supposed to make a whole lot of changes to, and if you're making those changes to the trust, it likely is because it is a reserved power or a grant of authority that is within that trust. So questions about irrevocable trusts, please see the attorney that helped you draft that trust in the first place.